Trey Ogden, Ignacio Bahamondes. There's no lines out for this one because Trey Ogden is stepping in to replace. Who is he replacing?
It would have been
Nicholas Mata. Yeah, Nicholas Mata withdrew. So Trey Ogden, who was originally supposed to fight in UFC San Antonio, which was less than 7 days ago, his opponent pulled out, so he wants to fight. And he's going to get a fight here on a pay-per-view prelim against Ignacio Bahamondes, which I think is kind of a step up in competition for him. So, I mean, he was an underdog against Manuel Torres. He's probably going to be an underdog in this fight as well. But, man, I read Trey Ogden's, story on what he had to go through to make weight for UFC San Antonio, which was crazy because if you have a moment, go to his Instagram and read the post. But I'll summarize basically. He's needed to cut weight. He wanted to get he had the hot tub at the Airbnb or whatever. Hot tub wasn't working. He went to a LA Fitness. That wasn't working. And then ultimately he had to go to he had to do some kind of sauna cut. He had to go through some crazy stuff to make weight. He made weight. And then his opponent pulled out after he made weight. So it's that's just a shitty thing to go through and then not be able to go out and fight. So I think that's part of the reason why he's taking this fight here just a couple weeks later. So he's an underdog there. He felt very disrespected that he was an underdog against Manuel Torres. He's probably going to be an underdog against Bahamondes. He's kind of fighting a guy we kind of talked about earlier off the show. And Daniel Zellhuber, who he beat in his last fight, is very similar to Ignacio Bahamondes. Taller guys who have good kicks, good striking in general, and he beat him by unanimous decision his last time out. I think Bahamondes is a lot better than Daniel Zellhuber at this point, but maybe Trey Ogden can expose something because you look at Bahamondes' wins, they're not great. Zhang Ru Zhang or whatever. He's somewhat of a prospect out of China. He hasn't really done much. He's a younger guy. He's 1-2 in the UFC. Roosevelt Roberts, who got cut from the UFC, wheel kicked him with 5 seconds left, and then a loss to John Makdessi by a split decision, who is a much smaller guy as well. Bahamondes, solid on the feet, and he's 8.33 strikes landed per minute. So he's going to throw out a lot of volume at you. He's got a lot of different tools in his arsenal on the feet. He can snatch something up with those long limbs. But Trey Ogden, I'm interested to see this line because I'm going to say Bahamondes is probably going to be minus 250, minus 300, probably somewhere around there. It's also another thing, how is that body going to do cutting weight twice in 2 weeks? Even after having a tough cut, having to go through a sauna. It's interesting. It's at a catch weight, which is 160, so just 5 pounds more than the 155 normal weight for him. We'll see how it goes, but this is a greasy fight, and I can't really give too much of a pick, if I haven't seen the lines, or I just can't really give too much to you. I think Bahamondes should win. He'll probably be a bigger favorite. So I'm not really saying anything crazy there, but Trey Ogden is always a live dog. So what do you think?
No, I'm the same way. And Trey Ogden against Zellhuber did so good of circling out of danger and just kind of, making Zellhuber miss and then hitting him with shots that, weren't devastating or anything. But then he'd, in the grappling department, he'd get in close, win some rounds with control up against the fence. But he was a lot harder to hit in that fight than I thought he was going to be. And he kept Zellhuber guessing all the time with that front kick and, basically fought the perfect fight to beat another striker when you're a grappler. Against Bahamondes, the one knock I have on Bahamondes is that he gets hit. I mean, if you watch that Roosevelt Roberts fight, his face was pretty torn up, the nose from the jab and all that. So I wish Trey Ogden had just a sliver more of some striking or some good technical boxing. Because mix that in with the grappling, I think that's a recipe to upset Ignacio Bahamondes here. But Bahamondes is tough and he does hit pretty hard, and he stays within himself really well too. You don't see him going, having these big wild exchanges. He keeps everything pretty tight, and you can tell he's not throwing like 100% on his shots. Like he keeps everything like 85, 90% accurate, and finds the chin. But man, if Ogden can just keep circling out and land a takedown or two here, he makes it really interesting because he does have a lot of submissions and is good on the ground and in the grappling department. And Bahamondes is still, pretty green at this too. I mean, he's beaten Roosevelt Roberts, who you touched on, that's not even in the UFC, and then Rong Zhu, who, I mean, for the average viewer, is probably not going to know him or seen any of his fights. So yeah, man, it makes it super interesting. I don't think I've seen enough out of Ignacio Bahamondes to hammer him here, and especially if the line's going to be pretty wide, which I'm guessing it's going to be. And Trey Ogden's just that sneaky guy that if you don't go out there and put hands to face and really touch him up, he's going to find a way to kind of sneak rounds from you just by touching you with that front kick or making you miss and then getting in on a double leg or holding you up against the cage and doing some good work in the clinch. So yeah, man, I think this fight could look similar to the Daniel Zellhuber fight. And if Trey Ogden loses, I don't think it's by much. I don't think he gets knocked out. I don't think he's ever been knocked out.
No.
So, I mean, he's tough. He's a good fighter. The one thing is that he was coached by James Krause, and James Krause had that game plan perfect against Zellhuber. And it's going to be a brand new coach for this fight. So you never know how that affects a fighter mentally and stuff. But yeah, man, I'll be interested to see what the line is. If Ogden's a really big underdog, I think I'm forced to sprinkle something on him.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on like any kind of grappling game because Ogden's he's got a lot of submissions under his record. Obviously, you probably don't want to stand and strike with a guy that's much longer than you. So I think it could be a path to victory that he takes him down and does some work there because Bahamondes has been subbed twice as well. So can't use a lot of that length when you're on your back and getting smothered.